up, world, and welcome to another episode of the South African Spice podcast. Today in the hot seat, we have a brand new guest, Darrien Luke, who is happy and excited to be sharing his story with us and allowing us to get to know him a little better. So, hi, Darrien, and welcome to the South African Spice podcast.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. Such an amazing platform. And funny enough, you say the hot seat because it's really hot where I am at the moment. So, yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm very excited to get to know you a bit better. I see you've got some really exciting things happening in your space, which we are going to get into in a little bit. But before we do, first and foremost, especially for the listeners who perhaps don't know you as well as they should, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what exactly it is that you do?
Okay, so my name is Darrien Luke, as you've mentioned, and I am a singer, songwriter, actor, dancer, and all-round entertainer from Durban, South Africa, specifically Chatsworth, if I may, mention, because I'm a proud Chatsworthian, as the people say. I grew up loving the entertainment world. I grew up watching Bollywood movies. And ever since I've watched my first one, I said to myself, I want to be a star. And I want to be just making people happy with the gift that God has given me. And I'm also an artist that doesn't put myself in a box. I love to explore all genres of music. I can sing in quite a few languages. If I can mention a few, Tamil, Hindi, isiZulu, English. I learned a song in Chichewa, which is a Malawian language. So I feel like as a human being, you can never stop learning and never stop growing and never, people can just impart what they know from, regardless of which area they're from, which country they're from, regardless of race, religion, and age. So, yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. That is like a really diverse portfolio, firstly. But now you mentioned, singing in different languages. I have to ask, do you understand all the languages that you sing in, or have you just grown to kind of understand it enough to sing?
So, Tamil, because I come from a very Telugu background and Tamil background, so I love to learn and understand what I'm singing about. So I do understand some. I'm actually telling my grand to please teach me like the basics, of Tamil. Hindi, I know more or less because as I said, I've watched a lot of Bollywood movies, so a lot of common terms I'm very, familiar with. Isi Zulu, I did Isi Zulu in school. I didn't do Afrikaans. So I understand quite a bit of isiZulu. In terms of Chichewa, it was just a one specific song. So what happened? We had a person working for us from Malawi, and the deal I made with him was that I would teach him isiZulu and he would teach me Chichewa. So I learned a few common terms and a few songs that he taught me.
That is so cool. You can tell that you are of the proper Tamil roots because, as all of us natural, South African Indians, we've grown up saying Tamil, but I know that the right pronunciation is Tamil. And sometimes I get into trouble for it, but when you're just talking and it just rolls off your tongue, sometimes it is just Tamil, but I love that you are pronouncing it the right way. And yeah, I agree. I completely get that because it's the same with me. I'm trying so hard to learn, Tamil now, but Hindi, if you put on a movie, sometimes I don't even need the subtitles because we grew up watching Bollywood movies and it's just a language that you learn.
To be honest, I think because we grew up watching these Bollywood movies, so Hindi is a little easier to speak than Tamil because Tamil is it's tongue twisting at times. Like I can mention on your podcast that I wrote a Tamil song for the movie Kings of Mulberry Street too. I'm not too sure if you've watched it.
No, but I'm not put it on my list now.
So please go and watch it. It's on Netflix at the moment. So I wrote a Tamil song. I rapped in Tamil for the very first time. So the director contacted me, like, Darren, this is what I have for you. Would you be able to write and perform it for me? And I did. So basically when you're watching the movie, it's the scene where Senzum Tietwa is in this kind of bar or tavern, and it's my voice, and he's just lip syncing.
Wow, that is amazing. But that must have also been so difficult.
Yeah, because it was so fast, but lucky enough, he speaks and sings in Tamil, so it wasn't hard. But for me, just watching that on screen and having I'm like, that's my voice, and I was like losing my mind because that was my first Netflix kind of project, and I did a small cameo in the movie as well, so that was kind of exciting. Yeah.
Ah, that is so cool. I want to talk a little bit to your history. So, what do you know about your own history or heritage and how your forefathers made their way from India to South Africa?
So funny enough that you asked me this question because my dad has only one remaining aunt on his dad's side. So she lives in Johannesburg, and she came down, and we were discussing our heritage. And because I'm considered a young person, but I'm very very like intrigued and very interested in my roots because I want to know. Like I'm so passionate. Look, I'm Christian by faith, but I'm so passionate about my culture. And I think people get it twisted sometimes that culture is different to religion. Like, I'm proud to be a Tamil speaking Telugu background person. My forefathers are from India. So, anyway, long story short, my great grandfather, which is my father's grandfather, came down from India. And as you mentioned before, my name is Darrien Luke Samuel. But Samuel is actually not my proper surname. So I'm actually in the process of trying to find out my real surname. So that's an interesting fact because what happened was when my great grandfather came down from India, they had changed his name because he converted to Christianity. So they were like, no, you can't have this name, but so you need to have like an English Bible name, whatever. So we trying to trace that name because like I'm only fourth generation Samuel. So, and I always wondered because I mean, it's not common for an Indian person to have a surname like Samuel. I'm like, something doesn't fit right. So we actually in the process of getting the surname. All I know it's a Telugu surname. I don't know what it is. I could be a Naidu with a U. I could be, I don't know, a Narayan Sami. I don't know. But I'm so, and my parents get annoyed with me because every time this aunt comes down from Johannesburg, I'm like, I want to know what my surname is because I want to be able to tell that to my kids someday and my grandkids, like, hey, this is actually your surname. Yes, we go by this name, but this is actually your correct. Because I want to know, I want to visit India one day. I'm not going to lie. I want to go to Andhra Pradesh, where possibly my forefathers came from. And I want to explore the place and be like, hey, my heritage is deeply rooted in India, you know? So that's my dad's side. My mom's side is very simple. Tamil speaking people. So my grandfather was a Naidu with a double O. My granny was a Naika. So her grandparents came down from India on the ship. So that's pretty simple. But I also have a bit of Irish roots because my father's mother's forefathers came through Ireland and then came to South Africa. So that's where I don't know. I'm kind of possibly mixed race, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Somehow, I guess I'm Indian and I speak like a proper Charo, but I know that I have some mixed roots. And you know what? If I had the funds to do the DNA test, so you can test all your different, I want to do that because I'm so intrigued by those things.
Imagine what it would come up with, and then you'd be like so shocked.
I'll be like, yes, oh my god, I'm actually white now.
Yeah, no, it's funny you say that because in one of my episodes, I actually talk about this whole naming thing and how these changes just happen like along the way. When you talk about surnames and this naming convention and stuff, I always find it so interesting on how things were done back in the day. And if you think about it now, it gives me heart palpitation.
It's weird because even my granddad told me a story before he could pass because they got his birth date wrong. So he was actually born on the 2nd of November or the 1st, I can't remember, one of the two. And then what happened was his father went back to India because I think his father was from India. And when his father came back from India, they lost their birth certificates. So they were like, you look 12, okay. But it's actually, yeah, and actually they got the years incorrect. So it's as you said, it's like weird enough. Like, because for example, like as you said, Nadesan is probably your what is your grandfather's first name. So that's what people did. Like, all I know is that my great grandfather from my dad's side, his name was Miria. So we trying to figure is Miria his surname or Miria is his first name. So the only way we could trace that is if we track down his sister's birth certificate because that would have her maiden surname on it. So we're in the
Yeah.
process of trying to get that birth certificate and be like, I want to know because before anything happens to my dad's aunt because she's quite elderly, you know. So
Mhm.
I don't want to lose that because I'm so intrigued. I promise you, I know a lot of people with this conversation, but I'm so glad I can have this conversation finally with someone who finds it as intriguing as I do.
Definitely, but now also you have to make sure you tell us. Like, we have to do another session once you know, and then we're going to do a deeper dive into this, and you're going to tell us absolutely everything that you find out as you're doing this research.
Yes, and I want to find out whether I got colored, Indian, whatever blood in me, I will tell you guys.
Great. Looking forward to that. What I wanted to know from you, and you did mention this very briefly in your introduction just now, but let's just go a little bit further into the role that Bollywood has played to getting you to where you are right now.
Yeah, Kabhi Kushi Kabhi Gum will be forever etched in my memory. I know every scene. And funny enough, you mentioned because I was on TikTok this morning and it was like a 6 minute scene and I was so glued. I watched it like it was the first time I was watching when Shah Rukh Khan walked into the mall and then he saw his mother after all these years and I'm like, oh my God.
Did you cry?
I did.
It's no matter how many times you watch it, you're gonna cry.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, so like I think about these things and I think about how it influenced us in so many different ways. Like you say, part of your art is to, act, sing, and dance. And that's basically everything that you see in a movie. Like, at what age do you remember starting to watch Bollywood movies? And do you have a favorite that really deeply impacted you?
I have to say I love this conversation because it takes me back in like as you were speaking and asking me these questions, I'm actually going back to my childhood and I just the memories are just like flooding through. So I didn't discover Bollywood until I was in I would say grade 2 or grade 3. So my parents used to watch Bollywood but never mentioned it to me. I never said, hey, do you want to watch a Bollywood movie? But then my neighbors, when we started to like visit our neighbors and whatnot, they were watching a Bollywood movie one day at their house, and I was like, "Hey, what is this?" And I think I had a love for music from a very young age, and I remember watching. I think it was actually funny enough. I think it was Kabhi Kushi Kabhi Gum, and I was mind blown that this person was singing, dancing, and acting, and it was like those outfits, the colors, and I was like, I remember like just like as I said, being mind blown. And I came home and then I told my parents, I watched a Bollywood movie that, hey, yeah, they know Amitabh Bachchan. I'm like, yeah, he was also in that movie. And back in the day, without revealing my age, but we had something called video cassettes. VCR, right? I'm that old, right? So if you remember that, maybe you're old as I
Same. Yeah,
so,
same.
so you would know the struggle of watching the movie and liking a specific song and to rewind. So there was one specific song which was "You Are My Sonia." I remember because we had the TV on the wall and the video machine was there, as we call it, and I would watch the song over and over and over and over again. And I grew up as a Bollywood dancer. I mean, I did a Bollywood dance in preschool, primary, yeah, pre-primary, whatever. And I learned every single move that Hrithik Roshan was doing, and I was like, "Yes, dekha tumko." And my sister used to watch me do that, and she had went to my teacher at school. I'm like, "Hey, my brother's like actually really good in dancing." And then they called me to do the dance, and then before I knew it, I was in the school concert, and my mom had made me that outfit that Hrithik Roshan was wearing, and my journey just began there as a Bollywood dancer. And I remember that Bollywood played a huge role in my career and what I am doing currently. Because I remember watching those people and they believe me that they were absolute stars, which they are. I mean, Shah Rukh Khan, Kajal, Hrithik Roshan, Kareena Kapoor, just to name a few that I grew up watching and loving them on screen. And I would remember, like, I was so upset when Kajal got married to Ajay Devgan. I was like, why are you cheating on Shah Rukh Khan? That is your husband. And because you think that they're really together. I'm telling you.
I'm sure a lot of us as kids watching that was like, what's going on?
Yeah, that's not right, Kajal. Well, also because I had a huge crush on Kajal ever since I was little, and I still do. But anyway, without going too far off topic, Bollywood played a huge role in my life. I remember watching it and being like, I want to be there one day. I want to appear in a Bollywood movie, either it's acting, dancing, or singing. So that shaped me into the individual that I am as an entertainer. Because I think we are so underrated. Bollywood movies, especially like Rani Mukherjee. I don't know whether you watch Chatterjee versus Norway on Netflix. It was a brilliant movie. We underestimate the talent that Bollywood and the stars that they brought up, the actors and actors, because we always obviously see them in some somewhat cheesy romantic roles, but they actually talented individuals. And I think we underestimate them, and also they're so underrated, so underrated.
I completely, agree with that because so we watch the React channel on YouTube. And as one of their kind of like skits, they have like this try not to dance challenges. So they've obviously got it for like different genres of music, and one of the genres that they have it for is for Bollywood. But these are not like, Indian people that's on the show. So one of the producers is an Indian guy, and he is, I think it's American. And obviously all these like teenagers, or maybe they're not teenagers, maybe they're like our age, I don't know. And they do like these skits. So they show them like a dance, and they play like one of these really like catchy tunes for them. And it's not even like the old school music, it's like the newer stuff as well. And they just lose it. But what gets me every time we watch it is the amount of comments that they give that say, oh my God, she's so beautiful. Oh my God, how do they dance like that? Wow, look at the cinematography there. That scene is so cool. And the colors are so vibrant. And I actually said this the other day to, my nephew and my husband, was we really underestimate ourselves how much this actually is when people see it for the first time. Because we're so used to seeing it that it actually just becomes, a part of our lives. But then when you sit back and you think about it and you hear somebody else comment, it's actually fascinating, and it's just mesmerizing. And
I think sometimes we take it for granted because obviously we grew up watching it. So I think we fall into the trap because we're so familiar with it. So when other cultures, like for example, the Indian channels, I don't know what you saw on DSTV now, there's a channel that has like, it's dubbed by like people from different African countries. But it's an Indian soapy, and you know what? I forgot what it's called now. It's called Z Wetu. It's called Z Wetu. So research it, because now what they have is they've got a channel dedicated. It's Indian people acting and whatever, but it's actually voiced over by people in different African countries to make
okay.
it more to make it easier for them to understand in the whatever. It's a funny. Actually, I think it's South African people. If I'm not, I'll actually go back and research
I've
that.
seen a little bit, maybe bits and pieces at some point that my mother.
Yes. I know some of my friends who are black and colored, whatever. They are a sucker for Indian soapies. I mean, myself. So I say I will not watch an Indian soapy because those things are so cheesy. And then once I watched a program called Saloni on Z. It was called Sat Pere, but now it's Saloni, right? I watched one episode. I'm like, I'm not gonna get hooked on this thing. I just was sitting and just observing, and I'm like, oh my God. I was hooked so badly. I would leave whatever I'm doing at 6 o'clock every single day, and I will sit and I will watch Saloni. Or I would record it and watch it the next day because I didn't want it to end because it's so interesting.
It's crazy how that happens. But did you get hooked because somebody in the house or in the family was watching it and you saw it like, in the background? Is that how you got hooked?
I think I visited someone one day and they so happened to have the channel on. And we at that time, okay, Z is still on DST, but I didn't really watch the channel because I'm like, no, it's too cheesy and I don't want to watch it. Because I grew up watching like proper Bollywood and I don't like dub stuff.
Yeah.
But funny, like, because someone asked me, because I made it a habit, like, even there's a new movie called Hi Nana on Netflix. I'm not too sure if you've watched it as yet. If you didn't, please do. It's a brilliant movie. So it's the original language is in Telugu. So I made sure that I watched it in the original language because I feel like it's more effective, and there's subtitles there. So anyway, yeah, that's a conversation for another day. But basically, I was hooked because the storylines, as cheesy as some people may find it, I find it so interesting. And I was so sad when it ended because obviously it has to come to an end. So I watched like from the beginning to the end, and I will even watch it again. That's how hooked on it.
Yeah. I feel you. I get hooked on these things because my granny will either be visiting or my mother found something and then she starts watching it. And then, you're there for like a short period, but now they're watching it the whole day. So you just like automatically get exposed and then you just get hooked.
And the
So
great thing about these things, you can come in on the 100th episode and you can still get what's going on. That's just an amazing thing, don't you think? Like, did it ever cross your mind? Like, you can come in watching even middle of the episode and you will know what's happening. I'm like, oh, damn, why is she doing that? She's so nasty.
you'll know exactly what's happening, but then you also can't get any rest until you know what's going to happen next.
Exactly. Like, is she gonna die? Did she really die? Because like, you ask yourself these questions all I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's such good storytelling, and I think that's something that, I hope that our generation carries forward in their own way, not necessarily, in like movies and all these big productions, but just in our homes and in our daily lives. I hope the storytelling is something that we don't ever lose, because it is part of who we are.
We got to keep ourselves cultured. I think as Indian South Africans, we got to keep ourselves cultured because, you know, for me, I watch other races embrace their culture. Like black people are so embracive of their culture. You see them wearing traditional wear. So I think 2019, I got nominated for a Crown Gospel Award. So that was for my gospel album. I got nominated in the R&B category and the adult contemporary category. And I made it an intentional choice to wear sherwani to the red carpet and the award show. Because I was like, I'm Indian, I'm proud to be Indian, and I should show other people that I'm proud of my culture because this is who I am. No matter how far you try to run away from it, this is who you are. And I remember I made a video as a part of an influencer for a local center in Durban. And I spoke like a proper Charo, like how I grew up listening to my grand and my grand's friends speak. And that's how I picked up some of the habits that I have, like saying, like I would say, Ayo Yama Kadevale in one go, you know? And I made it as a sort of a comedic piece. So some people didn't get it. They're like, oh, where do Indians speak like that? But I'm like, you may have went to a private school, or your mom and dad may have grew up in a very privileged background. I grew up listening to people speak like that, and people still speak like that. So if you don't want to embrace the culture, that's totally on you. But let me be who I am, you know?
Yeah, I 100% agree. Like, I love actually hearing all the very sort of Indian ways of talking. I like it. I grew up in Joburg, so I wasn't as exposed to it. But when I do hear it, I love it. I love hearing it. And especially when like now I'm away and stuff, I look for these things. So I know I can spot a South African Indian anywhere in the world because they will say something, and it will be something as small as dawa or this thing or, something or oyo or something. One of the words will come up. And that's how I'll know.
We need to educate people on the different types of ayo and what context to use it in. It's one word, but it could be used differently, and that should be one episode on its own, I think.
I agree with you. I agree. I use that word so much in the house. I don't even know if I'm using it in the right context, something, but it's
Because I mean, okay, you said you grew up in Johannesburg and now you're living in another country. Did you ever slip up and say oyo, and people were like, "What did you just say?"
I think I did, but I don't even think it was here. I think it was probably in South Africa with a non-Indian group of friends. And something happened and my instant reaction was, oh, your ma. And they were like, what? I was like, no, I just mean, whoa. That's
you tried to come back and be like, no, I just said, oh my God, what are you talking about?
Yeah, and they were like, what did you say? What language are you speaking? I'm like, guys, we're not going into that now. I got no time to explain where this word comes from because I don't even know myself. It's just
Neither do I. So I think it's just like I think in Zulu people say highball. So it's like it's like expressing your feeling towards something. It's like an expression. It's like exaggeration or something. I'm like ayo, like that's what we would say. So it's highball versus ayo, you know.
Yeah.
So it's basically the same thing, but it can be used like if someone passed, you'd be like, oh yo, or like if you feel it, you keep in ayo, like there's different ways to use it, like if you know. So yeah.
And what's amazing is that when you're hearing it, you know exactly what context it's been said in. It's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Okay, I want to come back to your music, right? So you have these different arts that you're in. Is it fair to say that music is your main passion, or is that just the passion that you are currently, pursuing in depth right now?
So I'm very passionate about music, and I always grew up passionate about singing. I started singing in church and whatnot. I still sing in church. Acting was something I always, as I said, watching Bollywood movies, and I always saw myself as a Bollywood actor. And I was in a school plays and whatnot, and I'm always a character. I'm always trying to make people laugh, and I'm very comedic. So I sort of put that behind me. I'm like, I don't think I could be an actor. It's very difficult to become an actor because singing is something that came naturally to me. But then when in 2019, when I got asked to be a background actor in Kandaswami's, the wedding, and that was my first experience being on set. And you have those moments where you have like, I think the word is called an epiphany. And you have this moment where you think to yourself, I can do that. I can see myself doing that. So I would say that acting is sort of my main passion now because that's what I'm actively pursuing. But music will always be my first love. And I think it works together because I think my goal was always to have one feed into the other. So because I'm an actor now and people probably will see my stuff in the months to come and years to come, that they will be like, oh my God, he's actually also a singer, which is fine with me because you're still buying into what I'm doing, you know? So yeah, I mean, I think I'm equally passionate about acting because basically I'm a storyteller. No matter through whichever form, whether it's dancing, whether it's singing, whether it's acting, I just want to be a storyteller. I don't want to do it for the fame and for the money, which does come with it sometimes. It does come with it. However, I just want to be a storyteller. I just want to be a convincing character in a movie. I want to be someone who sings songs that people can relate to and people can dive into deep into their emotion, be like, I feel what you're singing to me. You know, that's who I am. Yeah.
I think that's great. Okay, so talking about like your passions and stuff and where you want to be, can you share with us a little bit about, what it's like in the industry currently as a young South African Indian?
Yes. So, growing up in Durban, the industry is very small, being an Indian person. So, what casting directors I think is sort of getting wrong, if I may add, because I mean I've been in the industry for quite a while, so I can make these comments because so when you go in for a casting, they say Indian person. Now remember, us Indian South Africans come in all shapes, sizes, colors, So I think it's important for people to understand us more. So if you want to cast an Indian person around my age, what complexion does it need to be? Because I can't say I want an Indian person because then do you want a fairer Indian person? And I'm a medium complexion Indian. So I once went for an audition and the audition went pretty well. But I got told that I was too dark. So I was like, okay, does it matter? I understand that in the movie industry, you're looking for a certain like complexion of a person, whether it be white, because some people, when they're white, they want a pale white person or a tanned white person. So I think it is a bit difficult in the industry to break in as an actor because, as I said, it's very small but also very big at the same time. It's like a give and take. There's not a lot of roles for Indian people all the time, if I'm being honest. But I think the industry is growing, and I think it's a beautiful thing. I was part of a project 2 years ago, and I was the only Indian person there. And I had to make some stylistic choices to be like, because this is the way I normally speak, right? The way I'm speaking to you. This is my normal accent. You can hear that I'm a little bit of an Indian, but I do speak in this manner. But I also do have an alter ego, Auntie Pushpa, which I do speak like a typical Indian and all of that, which I would dive into going forward in this conversation. But back to what I was saying, it is difficult being an Indian because, as I said, there's not many roles for Indian people, but they're growing at the same time. So if you get the opportunity, like I did all these 2 years back, make a choice to just represent who you are, be authentic to who you are, because that's what people are going to relate to. Because when I see an Indian person, I know when I watched the first movie, The Broken Promises, Kandasamis and whatnot, I remember being so proud watching that. Because I'm like, hey, I actually see someone who looks like me, you know? And then on the singing part as well, it is difficult as well, but it's a beautiful industry because I found people of other races embracing me as an Indian person. I have a lot of friends who are not only Indian, they're black, they're colored, they're white, and they embrace my music. And as we will talk about it later, but I'm making a new song and I'm singing in isiZulu after a very long time, and I'm excited because I'm a piano. It's different, but I'm so proud of it, and I'm so proud to be South African Indian.
I'm glad that it is kind of changing, but do you think the industry is changing a little bit because finally people are making an effort to try and understand who we are as South African Indians?
I think after movies came out and having a lot of Indian people, they saw the impact and the talent that we have. So I think it's just that some people are so talented, but that talent doesn't meet opportunity. So, I
Yeah.
mean, you could be a great, beautiful singer and you could sit with all this talent, but if your talent doesn't meet opportunity, no one's going to see it. You're just going to be singing for friends and family all your life. So I think now that we're getting more opportunities, I think it's a great and beautiful thing. My prayer and hope and wish is to just for us to be more represented I mean, I watched Miss South Africa. I forget her name now. I don't
Rayoni.
even Bryony. I mean, watching someone who's like a similar complexion to me and being given the platform and for her embracing her skin tone and everything was such a beautiful thing. And you can hear the emotion in my voice because
Yeah.
I found it to be, because I'll be honest, the reason why I watched Saloni was because I found her so attractive because she's a darker complexion Indian girl. And it's not taken away from any even fair Indian girl, but I'm just saying, like, it was just beautiful, someone who's so comfortable in their own skin.
There's just so much a shame like around being like darker skin, and I think like when Bryony actually came out and she did so well and she was so confident, what I loved about that whole thing was that it wasn't just the darker skinned South African Indian woman that felt that sense of pride and empowerment from her. It was actually even just all South African women that were darker skinned that felt that.
And she carried herself out so well,
Yeah.
so so proper, and so beautifully. And that's why I say this industry needs to grow, and it is growing. And I see it. I can see the changes because I'm involved in a lot of productions, even behind the scenes, and I can see that they want the Indian race to be represented. But I just wish that we are properly represented. And I see more of my people. When I say my people, Indian South Africans, because ultimately we are South Africans. So I love all races, I love all cultures, but I need to also tell people about my culture as well and be well represented in that. Yeah.
Agreed. And talking about, being so proudly South African, let's talk about what you have up and coming, because it's a really nice mix of, the things that we all love and that we all like resonate with.
I released a new song, Angel. As you've heard, I've got a new song coming out, and the name of the song is called Ageko, which means no one. So it's a love song. It's an Amapiano song. So if you go back and listen to my music, I encourage people when you have some time, go to Spotify, research Darrien Luke, and just listen to my music. It's just my personal experiences. So I was once in a toxic relationship. And I wrote about my ex-girlfriend in some songs. I mean, Over You, songs like Alone. And then now I'm writing about what I want from love. Because I think everyone should experience love in whatever form or shape or size. So I want to experience love, and a gecko is just that. It's just that my idea of love. Because when I think of the love that I need, is what the first line of the song. This is what I think. So without giving away too much, Agieko is a new song coming out. I'm singing in isiZulu. It's an Amapiano track. People, I think it's good. People are gonna love it. I'm in the process of trying to get this music video off the ground. So I'm so excited for people to see what's up and coming. And also, I think I can mention, I did isiZulu in school. So from grade 8 to grade 12, I did isiZulu. So it's a beautiful thing to live in South Africa and be able to embrace the Zulu culture and your culture at the same time.
Especially coming from Durban. I just wish people could see how excited you actually are for this. Like if they could see you right now, you're basically like jumping out of the screen because you are so excited. So I can't wait to listen to it because I'm a piano fan because, I grew up in Joburg, but I also grew up in a predominantly like colored area. So that house music was very, very much instilled in me from a very young age. And that is what I lean towards with R&B.
As soon as possible. As soon as it's out, I'm sending it to you. I'm sending the link first.
Yes, please do so because I am so excited. I love music. I love, collaborations like this. And I love doing something different, but something that still truly represents us. And you say that we can find your music and stuff on Spotify. So I will definitely be, adding a link to that in the show notes. So our listeners can, go ahead and listen to that. And I hope that they enjoy it as much as I've enjoyed listening. So just like, out of curiosity, what does your Spotify playlist look like?
This is an Indian South African podcast, so I'm gonna say it's mixed maja. It's literally mixed maja. So I go to gym 3 times a week. I got my earpods on. I'm listening to everything from Ajit Singh to gospel to Tyler to T-Pain, which I grew up listening to this new song I'm loving from Justin Timberlake, Selfish. I mean, don't you just love that song? It's so easy to
Yes.
the ear. So that's what my playlist is. It's literally, if I could put a name to it and share it with people, it's literally mixed maja. That's what it is.
I love that. I love that. I love that so much because it's also what mine looks like. Mine has basically everything apart from hardcore rock and metal and no classical kind of music. apart from Beethoven?
We're basically the same person because I also don't, I'm not a big fan of like hard rock. I love like soft rock, like Nickelback and Palo Tones and stuff. I can listen to that. But I'm an R&B guy. I think that's the genre of music that I'm very like pop R&B is what I am. But yeah, I don't even put myself in a box. But yeah, we're basically the same person because like, yeah.
Maybe it's a generational thing, because I think that music just hits a little different.
Okay, hopefully, can me ask, are you born in the 90s?
Yeah.
Yes. Representing.
Yep. Welcome to the 30s. So you're 30 already, right?
When it hit me, because just a side note, I got my colors, my provincial colors for volleyball in 2006. So I started playing after 14 years or maybe more than that. I started playing volleyball again. And I'm playing my first tournament in a 30 plus category. So yeah, it
I
only hit me now. Yeah.
feel you. I feel you. Well,
Because even me, I'm like, I don't want to have a party because I was asked to do it. I'm like, no, I want to go overseas. So I've never been overseas. So that's what I want to do for myself. I want to do that for myself, working all these years because I never stopped. Like after matric, I went and got my degree and then I still never stopped working. Like within a couple of months, I was working. So I didn't have a break to be like, hey, this is for me. So my goal is to do a photo shoot to say that I'm 30. But according to Facebook, I'm turning 26. So don't tell anybody. So Facebook, if you're listening, I'm 26. Okay, last year I was 26, so this year I'm 27.
I get you. I get you. No, it happens.
But my ID does not matter.
I think it's just our generation. We're really struggling with this being in the 30s thing.
Even look our age. Have you noticed that our generation, like from the 90s going up, we don't look our age, which I may say, I don't feel like I look 30. I
No.
hope that I don't look 30. And even yourself, you don't look like your age. You look like in your 20s, which is great, for us.
Thank you. Yes, it is great. It is great. And I hope it continues this way. So when we get to our 40s, by that time, we'll probably accept our 30s.
Like, may God bless our genes going forward, and even our children, our children's children will also have the young genes. I'm telling you.
Just hoping for that. Now, because I know that we've got such similar taste in music, I would love to know what is your top 5 songs that you sing in the shower?
I start off probably with gospel, then I go to Ajit Singh. I think the new song ever that. "Teri baaton mein se bhul jajiya." So I think that, and then now I'm singing "Water" by Tyler or "Truth or Dare." I love Tyler. Tyler's representing, and it can even go to like R&B. What's this new song? Twin, where have you been? Nobody knows it. That one there? I love that song. I think it's called. I'm not. I hope I'm pronouncing her name correct. I think it's a Money Long or Mooney Long, whatever. So
I don't know
that,
myself, but I
and it
know
can
the
go
song.
to, and it can go to anything like Adele. Like I love Adele. Someone like you, or her newer song. So yeah, as I said, it's mixed. So people, I can't wait to start living alone too, because then people don't think I'm weird. Because my mom and dad must think that there's something wrong with me, even though there is. But you know what I mean? Because I don't know. I have a whole concert and like 5 different languages in one go. I'm telling you.
That'd be very entertaining to listen to.
Thank you. I hope my neighbors think so because I think they could hear me. But I
I'm
don't
sure it
care
is.
because the shower is my time to have my personal concert, so I'm going to do it.
No, I think I think it's definitely, it must be entertaining. Else they would have complained by now. So just take it. You mentioned your mom now. So I think one thing I want to ask you, and that's just because, we're so used to how it is being in a typical Indian household and what the expectations are of you and stuff. But what has the support been, from your loved ones around you going into this industry and pursuing something so incredibly difficult?
I was privileged enough to have a very, very supportive family. I mean, people could say, Darren, you're going to be a star. You're such a good dancer, such a good singer, such a good actor. So they grew up listening to what other people would say. My dad did instill in me, like, you know what? Because I knew right off the bat, I want to be a singer. I want to be an entertainer. I want to be an actor. So he was like, you know what? I support that, but do you just want to try getting a degree because it's nice to have a fallback? And I don't regret doing it because let me be honest, it's not easy being full time in this industry, and hence why I'm not. I'm actually an accounts manager by day, and then I do this on the side because it's difficult, if I'm being honest, to earn a living because there's not always projects coming up.
Did you say
So yeah,
accounts manager?
yeah. So I got my degree in marketing and supply chain
That is like
in
chalk and
university.
cheese.
Yes, exactly. So, I mean, even look, my whole life has been like a contradiction, shall I say? Because in school, I did physics, accounting, and IT. Then I went and did a degree, a BCom in marketing and supply chain. I worked a year and a half in supply chain, and then my career took off in music, and then I went into like accounts because it was a bit more flexible for me in the company that I'm working for now. And now I'm a singer and actor and a dancer. I'm like, it's so, and you know what? I know
And
it's so contradictory.
but don't forget the volleyball as well because you got your colors there too.
Yeah, so now I started playing volleyball again. So I'm in volleyball and I'm also like furthering my studies in digital marketing and whatnot. So I'm doing a whole bunch of things. Fun fact, I have my certification in TEFL. I don't know, I just did that for fun. So
Yeah, we'll talk about being well-rounded, right?
yeah, yeah. Thanks. Oh, and I love to cook. I love to cook. I can make, well, my family tells me, I hope they're not lying to me, one of the best soji that they've ever tasted. So
How's about this then, right? Because I get told the same thing. My mother told me to make my own wedding soji, and I was like, the sari's gonna get in the way. I can't do it. So let's do this. When you do travel, make your way to the Netherlands, and you and I will have a soji off,
yes, let's do it. I hope
right?
they have all the ingredients that I needed, like that cinnamon stick and the elaichi and all of that. So if you got
Everything.
that, yeah, definitely. Let's have a soji off. Okay, wait. Let me ask you this question. Do you make your soji with semolina or tasty wheat?
Semolina.
Okay, I make mine with tasty wheat. So that would be a nice contrast because I make mine with tasty wheat.
Okay, fine. Yeah, I'm very excited for this.
We'll do it live if I'm in the net. We'll do it live on TikTok. I'm telling you.
Okay, done deal. Okay, yeah, so I mean, that's really cool. Like, it sounds like you are really well rounded, but also grounded. And that's really nice to, see because I think it's also a bit of a misconception is that, when you're somebody in this industry and people usually kind of think that you are chasing fame, and with that fame comes arrogance or that ego. So I'm glad, that you're here, you're having this conversation, but we're also getting to see like parts of you that we don't necessarily see like on your socials and stuff. And that just shows it's the opposite to that.
Yeah, thank you so much. And one thing I always tell people, like when they're coming into the industry and they always ask me, Darren, can you give me advice? Because again, a lot of people are asking me for advice, and I love it. Like when people inbox me, Darren, how do I get into the music industry? How do I get online distribution? How do I get my music on Spotify? Which producers should I use? I'm always want to be so as helpful as I can with the time that I have, because when I was doing it and I started off doing music, no one helped me. No one wanted to help me, and I had to learn. But I'm so thankful for that experience because I had to learn everything on my own. But now that I am where I am, and with the successes that I've had and some failures as well, I'm able to impart that knowledge and hopefully that others don't make the same mistakes that I did. So I'm so passionate about helping people. And also, one thing that grounds me is that I always tell people there will always be someone better than you in what you do. But never forget your worth. Never forget that you are a unique being made by God, that you carry something unique. So no one can bring what you bring to the table. So always remember that. That's what keeps me grounded, that you know what, there's always going to be someone who's going to do it better than me. And that's totally fine. But I have to know my worth and what I bring to the table because I'm a unique human being.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I'm really glad to hear, that you paid forward in that way because it is important. And that's the whole thing about having representation is it's all good and well seeing somebody who represents you, but when that person is so intangible, then it kind of defeats the whole point.
It's so nice, that's why I enjoy this conversation because it's so hard to find someone who relates to me like the way you did. And we just met, you know what I'm saying? Because most people don't get me because I'm such an old soul. I said an older auntie knew, the older uncle in me, like, I'm like, that's who I am. So, sort of like even like playing volleyball, for example, not everyone likes singing that I do. I'm very different. I'm a weird human being. Like once you get to know me, I'm weird. But it's something I also love about myself. I'm not just like a typical, I have many layers like an onion, as they say. So,
We're all weird and we all have all these layers. Some of us are just not comfortable enough to admit it.
yes. But I'm glad this is a safe space to share what you weird human beings we are. So that's great.
Completely. Darren, it's been so nice getting to know you, and I do hope, we have you back on the podcast, sometime soon. But I think just to, wrap up the session and everything that we've spoken of, it's a very important one that is really going to define you for our audience is, Darrien Luke, what kind of South African Indian are you?
That's a very nice question and very interesting question. I am a proud South African Indian, if I can use that word there. I'm a proud South African Indian. I use words as you listen to when you listen to this podcast, you're going to be like, ayo. And so I can go from professional South African Indian to hood South African Indian in like 5 seconds. I mean, I think most of us can do that. But I think I'm proud because, as I said, I embrace my culture. And I pray and hope that people listening to this afterwards would, even if you're younger in age, would go ask your parents to tell you about your heritage, because we have such rich heritage wherever we come from. And I think we have such a beautiful culture. I think regardless of whether you grew up watching Bollywood movies or Tamil movies or Telugu movies, whatever it is, it's such beautiful. If you listen to the music that we have to offer, the clothing, why didn't we talk about the foods? Okay, we spoke about soji, but I mean the foods that come out of Indian people are just amazing. And I pray and hope that other races embrace us as much as we embrace other people and other races as well. So I hope that answers your question, but I'm a proud South African Indian.
Oh, it definitely does. And I'm glad to hear it because, one proud South African Indian to another.
I'm telling you.
Well, thank you so much for your time. It really was so good.
I'll be back. I enjoyed this conversation. I don't know about you, but I enjoyed this conversation. But if I may say so, before if you listen to this conversation, as I said, my DMs are open on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. DM me. It's at Darrien Luke. That's at DARRIENLUKE. Again, DARRIENLUKE. Hit me up. Check me up on Spotify, YouTube, wherever you want. If you want to connect with me, just message me. If you want to know more about the industry, I hope this podcast answers some of your questions. But if you want to know more in-depth knowledge, I'm there. But also a very big thank you to you for having me on this platform. It was such an amazing conversation. I enjoyed it so much to share parts of me that don't often get shared on social media because I choose not to. But I'm glad that this was a safe space to share this with. And thank you so much. I had a blast. And thank you for creating this platform, not just for myself, but for other South African Indian people to have a voice. You've created a voice for many South African Indian people, and I hope that more people are touched by your podcast because you're doing an amazing job with it. So keep on going, and I'm looking forward to hearing this episode and to hearing more of your shows. It's just a brilliant thing.
You are most welcome. And I definitely did enjoy the conversation too. And I think, this is a very fun one and very light. And that's just the way we like to have it because it's about real conversations with real people. So yeah, again, thank you. And until, we get you back here or until our soji off, Shup sweet and aware. Lots of love.